All right, hey, how you all doing? Let's get into it. My name is Satch. I am a senior developer for the Mississippi Coding Academies, and I'm gonna put these lessons together. We're gonna see how it goes, okay? Because I believe in teaching coding. It's fun. So what we're gonna talk about in this very first lesson, this is very introductory, is HTML and header classes. Okay. What you'll need to do, I'm not going to do a lesson on that, but you need to download Visual Studio Code or some other type of editor. So if you go type in Visual Studio Code, and there you see Visual Studio Code right there, you click on download. Download for the specific machine that you use, whether you're a Mac user or PC or what have you. Uh, get the proper download that you need, install it, okay? I'm gonna, you'll see me do some things in Visual Studio Code. I'm not gonna really try to explain that because it's not a lesson on Visual Studio Code. It's a lesson on coding. Um, so I've already got my stuff set up. You need to take some time to do that. You can pause the video. You'll need to create a folder somewhere. You can put it on your desktop. That's a good place. I recommend that you put it. But have a folder just for your codes. As you can see, I have a folder here that I have named code actually. And inside of that folder, I have a folder called HTML. And then I have a lesson1.html file. Okay. So here's how you create a file with this icon here or folder right here. You can also come up here in your toolbar and say new file or folder or whatever it is you need to create. Again, this is not a lesson on that. This is a lesson on like actual coding. So anyways, HTML, hypertext markup language. Okay. Basically, it is the skeleton of the web. I do believe that the best web developers should have really good, strong comprehension of HTML. Some people like to think that it's not a computer language. I tend to be on the other side of that. I do believe it's a programming language. It's a special one even. Anyways, we're going to get into some HTML. I'm going to explain a lot of things about HTML as I go through these lessons. But I don't want to just bog you down without you actually getting your hands on the keyboard and doing the work. Because honestly, you can look at my handsome face all day long. It's not going to make you a good developer. Okay, so let's hop into it. What I'm going to do is on this line one right here on my lesson1.html file, it's important that you put that .html. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type HTML. You can see some stuff already pop up. I'm going to type HTML:5. This says the code that will be understood is HTML5 markup. And HTML5 is the most recent version of HTML. Okay. There's a lot of stuff in here that is super important, but it's not important for me to really talk about. You just need to know that this bang or exclamation point doc type HTML basically means that, hey, everything below is going to be HTML5. We have our head tag and we have our body tag. These elements represent, well, the head represents a collection of metadata for the document, or as I like to put it, is basically the brain of the document. Okay, so there's things inside of the head that we don't necessarily see, but it's evident in the document. For example, you don't know what's going on inside my brain, right? You can't see what I'm thinking, but you can see that whatever it is I'm thinking said, hey, shave off your hair, maybe because your hairline's pulling back, whatever, but I just like the bald look anyways. Rock this nice beard, put on this black shirt, spin it on the records, you see how I get down. That's the head, okay? So the head, again, represents content that we don't necessarily see, but it's important for the document, okay? And the body is where everything that we are going to see is going to show up in the body. Okay, so what we're going to talk about is the header classes. The header classes are elements H1 through H6, and basically they represent headers of content. Okay, so particular, header of a piece of content. Okay, so let's do that. Let's become coders right now, right this very instant. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this less than sign, H1, and then a greater than sign, not a question mark, but a greater than sign. You can see that the closing tag, which represented with a slash, that pops up. Okay, now my cursor is right there in between them. What I'm going to do in between them, I'm going to type hello world, like we have here. Okay, and I'm going to save this. And nothing shows up yet on my browser. But now when I refresh this, and now I see hello world. Great. If you're able to do this, and pause the video, try it again if you didn't get it. But if you're able to get this, then guess what? You are a developer. Congratulations. You can do something that 99.5% of the world either cannot or has not done. Okay, so that puts you in very exclusive territory on this planet right now. And that's something that I just find really fascinating. Now, may not make you a good developer, right? But you're a developer nonetheless now. Now that you can do this. Okay, because everything is like, just building on what we have right here. So now what we're going to do is that's a H1. Again, I said they're H1 through H6. So let's look at those. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just say H2. And I'm going to say this is in H2. And I'm going to do the same thing with H3. Notice I can just type H3 right here, just hit enter. That's the cool thing I like about Visual Studio Code. And the more that you just kind of play with this, the more things you'll find out that you can do. This isn't a lesson on Visual Studio Code. This is a lesson on coding, right? So I'm not going to really concern myself with just kind of teach, those little tricks and stuff like that. I may go over a few things here and there that might help you out, but that's not the focus. All right, so I got H1, H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6, and I'm going to save this, and I'm going to refresh, and when I do that, now you see what we have here listed, hello world, and then this is the H2, this is the H3, all the way down to H6. So let's talk about these header classes. Okay, again, like I said, the header classes represent headers and subheaders, okay, for content. If you think about a newspaper, let's say our local newspaper here in Jackson, Mississippi, the Clarion Ledger, or you can say the Jackson Advocate, what have you, Jackson Free Press, any one of those local papers. The actual name of the paper, represents, that would be the H1, okay? It is the name of the entire document, okay? So the entire newspaper is the Jackson Advocate or Jackson Free Press or the Clarion Ledger, New York Times. So that would be the H1. And then all the headers for the individual stories, that would be the H2. And so anything below that, any kind of subheader that adds to, say, the one leading it, that would be H3 through H6. Another way I like to give an example of this so that you can see what's happening here is, say, if we do animals. Because we can break animals down, like we can classify them in many different ways. I'm not a zoologist, so I'm not going to get this exactly right. Please forgive me. But the idea is still there, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say H1. I'm going to put animals. And let's say H2. I'm going to say cats. I'm going to do another H2 for dogs. Uh-oh, made a mistake. And I'm going to do, and you'll make plenty of mistakes. Don't worry about that. Mistakes are going to be made. I'm going to do another H2 and say fish. Okay, now I'm going to save this, and we'll look at this, and then we see animals, cats, dogs, and fish. Okay, so those would be my H2s because those, the cats, dogs, and fish, those are subheaders of animals, okay? But cats can be classified even more. I can break that down even more, can't I? So I'm going to say, now I'm going to make an H3 and say house cats. And I'm going to do another one that's going to say Wildcats. And let me capitalize that C right there. Okay, and I'm going to save, always save, and then I'm going to refresh my browser. And so now you see cats and then house cats and wildcats. And if I want to break this down even more, I don't really know any house cats, so skip that. I do know some wildcats. Like I said, I'm not a zoologist. So I'm going to say H4 and say, lions. And do another H4, tigers. One more H4, pumas. Okay, and save and refresh, and now you see that our wildcats has been broken down to lions and tigers and pumas. And I can break that down some more if I want to, right? I can, break down what different kind of tigers. I know there's like Siberian tigers, and I think there's tigers in India. Pumas, I could talk about, what is it? Well, panthers are pumas. You get the idea. But we can break these classifications down as we need to. Okay, so with that being said, your very first rule when it comes to using the header classes, do not use your headers for size purposes. Okay, so don't say, oh, I want the font to be bigger, so I'm going to use an H1 if it's not an H1. Or I want the font to be small, so I'm going to use an H5. That's not how this works, okay? This is what we call structural markup. And there are ways that we can resize font if we want to, but we don't do that using the header classes. The header classes, the H1 through H6, again, that represents the headers and subheaders for blocks of content, okay? So if I wanted to, write about animals, so I want to do maybe a big giant book on animals, okay? So the name of the book would be Animals, okay? And then, one section would be cats, another section would be dogs, another section would be fish. And then I can break those cats down into house cats and then wild cats. Then I could talk about the different kind of house cats, which I don't really know. I know a calico cat, um, and I think tabby cat, maybe that's what it's called, but that's really all, Garfield. I don't really know the names of house cats. But wildcats, I can go into wildcats and talk about those specific kinds and then break those down as much as I need to. That's what the header classes are for, okay? It's for the header or subheader for blocks of content, not size, okay? So I know as a newbie, you're going to want to try to use H1 through H6 based on the size, or you'll look at it, something that you're working on and say, oh, well, it's bigger. I want the font to be bigger, so I chose the H2. Like, no, that's not what you do, okay? Please don't do that. I will correct you if you do that. H1 through H6, that is for headers, okay? Very good. We got our first lesson done. Congratulations. Welcome to the world of development. I am Satch, okay, again. And we're going to move on to more lessons. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to try to keep these lessons real short so that you can just kind of absorb the content, just kind of do along with me. And I'll just be talking through some stuff while we're going through it. But yeah, peace, power, blessings.